So I'm finally addressing the number one question that I've been getting for the past 6 months about my husband and I and our unseparation. So if you guys haven't been following for a while, or if you saw the reel that went viral and got over 3 million views of my husband and I getting back together after 13 months apart, this is kind of the Coles notes of how we made it work, how we forgave each other, how we are doing now, and what ultimately brought us back together. So it's long, it's sort of long, I guess. It's long-winded in a way where I have a lot of back and forth. There was a lot of mishaps. There was a lot of pain. There was a lot of mistakes. And so, and then now we are expecting our second child, and I'm almost 4 months pregnant, and we've been back together for 6 months. So things happen fast. But anyway, so in December of 2020, our marriage kind of hit like a no going back. We just ended up no longer respecting each other. We weren't the fun, loving couple that we were used to being. The thing is like we just weren't like friends anymore. And my husband and I, like, we really pride ourselves on our friendship in our marriage. Like, we're best friends and we support each other and we're funny and we're silly and all of those things. And then now it got to a point in like December of 2020 where like we couldn't stand each other at all, and we were saying like really mean things to each other. We were not respectful and that's kind of like when I knew it was like gonna break, or that we needed to make a huge change, because once you lose that respect, it kind of like there's nothing really left, I find anyway. So every couple has their own like pillars of importance, and I always trusted my husband. Like, infidelity and stuff like that has never really been a thing that I was ever worried about. But like the thing is that we used to be like the couple that was like, people would compare us to, like Johnny and June, Bonnie and Clyde, like without the crime. But we were like us against the world. No one could come between us. Like, anybody, like, he would stand up for me all the time. I would stand up for him. Like, we were thick as thieves and just loved each other so much. And then I don't really know what happened. Like, we can't pinpoint when it happened, but we just kind of started to like hate each other in like the weirdest way. Like, we still loved each other, but we didn't like each other. Like, we didn't like being around each other. We didn't spend quality time together. We weren't doing the little things anymore. And like, we were kind of like passing up like date nights and just like, and we turned against each other. So instead of being like a team, it was almost a competition all the time. So instead of supporting each other's like dreams and goals and stuff, it was like, well, if you're going to do that, then I'm going to do this. And it was just like a pissing contest. So we were always just like, well, if you do that, then I'm going to do this. Or like, if you drink, then I'm going to drink more than you. And I'm going to like ruin your night. And if you're going to ruin my night, then I'm going to like, it was just like over and over, like constant battling. And it was such a weird thing. And then one night we got into a little bit of an argument. I was feeling like I wasn't being appreciated. I wasn't feeling like I wasn't being like, he wasn't being affectionate with me enough. I didn't feel special anymore. Like, I just didn't feel like I was his wife. I felt like I was just this nagging piece of furniture that like never got attention. And he was always like going out into the workshop, and I was always trying to find other things. Like, I consumed so much social media, and I was just like, I changed too. And so not only were like us as a couple not ourselves, like each other were no longer the people that we kind of fell in love with, the people that we respected and that we wanted to be with, So I was a different person. I was a version of myself that I don't even recognize. And he was a version of himself that I was like, why the fuck am I married to you? If like you're going to treat me like this, like I don't want to be married to you. So one night we got into this big explosion. We both said some things that shouldn't have been said. And I kind of just looked at him and I was like, I'm done battling. Like, I'm done fighting for this. And we need to either reset or just like go our separate ways, because it's not healthy for either of us. And I don't want to end up hating you. Like, I don't want to actually hate you. I still love you. And I think that's so important, because we have a child and you're like, you'll always be my best friend, but like, I can't be your wife anymore. The next 3 months were filled with so much pain and just like a whirlwind of emotions, of going back and forth, of hurting each other more than the other one, of like begging and pleading, and then, you know, and it was just like it wasn't healthy anymore. And finally in April we decided, okay, we're gonna start co-parenting, and that's it. And so I would leave the house and he would stay at the house, or he would take our daughter to a hotel and they would stay at there because he works away. So when he would be on days off, he would see our little one, and then I would get her when he was working. And so that kind of worked for a little while. We did that until September, and then it just like wasn't feasible anymore. Like I was either getting kicked out of our home, or he was spending too much money on a hotel, and it just kind of being like, and we were still friends. Like when he would pick up Jax, we would go for lunch every time, and we would talk and we would laugh, and we would, you know, get caught up in this whirlwind of like, what are we doing? But then we would immediately be like, this is why, because something would set off that like resentment, like anything. Like he would make a little joke about me and I would immediately get like so hurt, and then I would make like a comment and he would just be like, whatever, Jess. Like it was just like, and then we were like, this is why we're doing it, because we actually can't stand each other and we haven't done enough work on ourselves or like come back to who we are. And so over the summer and stuff, like over the next, like from April to September, we both did some really, like, obviously we were going through stuff. Like I dated some people, and he slept with any chick with a heartbeat. And you know what? Like whatever, it was both of our ways of coping. And I think it's like classic men and women, like, and I'm not gonna like put us in gender roles, but like seriously, I think it's like a classic men and women thing. Like I fell into relationships and he fell into like, you gotta get under someone to get over someone, and he just was trying to forget me and just party and live the life. And he was living the life that he thought that he was missing out on by being a married man. Like Jordan and I, my husband and I, got together when he was 20 and I was 23, and like we'd been together for 7 years, and he didn't really get to like grow up on his own. We had a baby at 22, and he thought he was missing out on this life that like that was like so much more fun and stuff, you know. And I thought I was missing out on like the settling down. Like Jordan and I, we've always been known to be like, we fly by the seat of our pants. We like make decisions really fast. We are go. We just kind of like to enjoy every single minute. But I thought that that was like very irresponsible. I thought that we were too young to be married. Like I thought, because he's 3 years younger than me. So I thought that like if I went with an older man and he had his life together and things were better, like maybe that's what I need, you know, like maybe that's what'll make me happy. And then, so we both did what we thought was the life we were missing out on. Like I wanted stability and he wanted to party more. And so we did, we went for it, like full on. And every time I would see him, it would like just, like crush me. Like it was him I missed. It was his laughter. It was the way that we had fun. I didn't actually want stability in that way. Like I still wanted to have fun. And he was the only one that was like that type of fun for me. Like Jordan and I are best friends. And so every time he would come back to town, I would just be like, man, I really want to hang out with you and have fun with you than hang out with this old man that I've been dating who just like does very, you know, stable stuff. And so, yeah. And then he would be like, you know, I really like, I go on all these dates and like, they're just never you. And I was like, yeah, I feel that. So anyway, we started talking like more honestly about like where we were in life and like what we were expecting and what we thought we wanted. And we got back to being best friends, but like there was no resentment. Like I knew what he was doing, obviously, was to try and forget me. And he knew what I was doing was trying to chase a life that I thought was good, but it was actually so boring. Like it's just not who I am. And in the meantime, we both did work on ourselves that like brought us back to like our core and like who we are. So we became friends first again. And like, so in September, he started like staying at my house or our house. And I would stay there too. And in September though, I asked him to get back with me. I was like, please, like, what are we doing? We're friends, all of this stuff. And we tried it. We tried it for a weekend and we went out for dinner and there was a comment made and it broke my heart. Like he broke my heart and he didn't mean to. He just said something that like really hurt. And he was like, Jess, I don't think we're ready for this yet. I don't think that like this is where we're at because I don't even really know what hurts you anymore. And you seem to still have some resentment and I do too. Like anytime you say something, I feel like you're trying to control me. And anytime I say something, it seems like you're getting hurt by it. And it crushed me. It crushed me. I thought for sure we were doing this again. And I cried for like a week. I cried more than when we actually ended our marriage. And so I was like, well, whatever then. We're friends. And that's okay. I would rather have him in my life than not have him at all. And so September, October, November, we continued going on. I dated somebody and Jordan still partied and all of that stuff. And then, in November, we both, like, for our daughter's birthday, we both kind of started realizing, like, how lonely the lives that we were living without each other really are. Like, you know, the summer was over. People weren't partying as much. I was bored as fuck with the person I was dating. And, like, it's not like Jordan or my husband was a backup plan, but we both kind of, like, looked at each other and we were finally both on the same page. Like, what are we doing? We love each other ultimately. And Jordan would and he would always tell me, like, you're the one that I want and that I see sitting on our patio in our rocking chairs when we're 70 talking about our lives, and you're the one that I want there with me. Well, I'm not going to wait around forever either. Like, I'm going to start my life, and I'm not just going to stay married because you want me when I'm 70 to sit on the porch with you. And he was like, no, like, he's like, I really like what we have. Like, I'm afraid that we're going to fuck this up again. And if we screw it up again, then what? And I was like, honestly, we will not screw this up again. We know what it's like without each other, and it fucking sucks. Like, when you found that one person, like, everything else is just... And so what we were battling at this point was fear of losing each other again. And we had gotten to such a good point of, like, being friends and having fun. And we went Christmas shopping for our daughter together, and we were, like, laughing and hilarious and just being Jess and Jordan again. And it was just like, this is who we are, you know, and this is what I want. This is what he wants. And so we were just afraid to, like, make that step and then lose each other again. And so I finally kind of gave him the ultimatum, like, I can't just, like, wait around to be 70 with you on the porch. Like, this hurts me way too bad. Like, it was so painful to, like, still see him every day, but know that he wasn't, like, mine, you know? And I just wanted to kiss him and hug him and, like, have that again. And for the whole year we were apart, like, until like Christmas time, there was never, like, that urge to, like, really want and need to kiss him and hug him and feel his warmth and all of those things. Like, it was just like, okay, well, I can do this friend thing. But somewhere along the way, like, we fell back in love with each other. We fell back in love with ourselves. We both found hobbies that, like, fuel us, that we can talk about to each other. We were both very proud of the people that we had become. Like, he was excelling at work. I was excelling in my podcast and everything. And, like, he was the only one, and I was the only one that he would share those with. Like, he would call me when he was excited about news, and, you know, we had just become such good friends. And then finally, we both, like, kind of were like, what are we doing? What are we doing? I miss you. And he was like, I miss you so fucking much. And he's like, but I'm scared. And so I kind of gave him an ultimatum, and I was like, well, listen, you got like 24 hours to figure it out, because this has been 13 months of a lot of emotions, and I don't know how much longer I can do this, because I was drained. I was exhausted. I missed him so much, and he knew that. And I was like, I can't give you the opportunity to break my heart again and again and again. So the next day he called me and he was like, you're my wife. I want you to be my wife. I'm like, this is it. We're doing this. And so what we did was we laid out all of our expectations, all of our needs, all of the things that, like, we need out of each other, and all of the things that we need to stay the same as it was when we were single. So he really had this, he still wanted to do things that, like, fueled his soul, that, like, you know, he wanted hobbies. He wanted to stay and do, whereas, like, when we got married, we almost felt, and it's so funny because he stood in this, like, I want to be independent and all this stuff, and I want to do my own things. And then when we finally got back together, he's like, well, what are you doing? Like, are you going to come with me? And I'm like, you literally want to do things on your own. And he's like, no, I don't though. And so anyway, we had this list of things that we had as expectations. We really talked about our love languages. We really laid it out for the other person. Like, this is what I expect. This is what I love about you. We laid it out for each other, and we said, like, can you deal with this going forward? Can you deal with this? Sorry, I hurt you for all these times. We, like, owned the shit that we did to each other. We owned the things that we, you know, that were not good, and we put it all out there. And we were honest. Like, I'm the type of person that needs to know every single detail about every little thing that he might have done in the last year. And he's the type of person that doesn't really want to know too much, but we had an honest, open conversation. I asked every single question that I could possibly think of. So like, there are some things I didn't really want to hear, but I'm happy I did now. And we moved past it because ultimately we weren't together. There's nothing that he could have done in that year except like, you know, something terrible to our daughter or something, but he would never do that I can't forgive, because it's not like he did it to me. He wasn't with me. So it really had nothing to do with me. So whatever he did with other women, whatever he was doing while we were separated, really isn't any of my business to be mad at. I can't hold grudges on things that happened when we weren't together. And so it's kind of like when you first start dating someone, what are you going to do? Get pissed off about things that like they did months ago when you like didn't even really know each other. So anyway, we worked through it. We were honest. And sometimes, like, of course, there are still things that come up and I'm like, but was she prettier than me? Like, did she have nicer boobs than me? Like, I literally ask like the funniest questions, but it's like sometimes there's still insecurities, you know? And he's just like, no, Jess, it was always you. He's like, I was still searching for you and stuff. And, you know, he eases my mind and he never gets frustrated when I have these crazy questions. And I never get upset when he like makes fun of me for the decisions I made in the last year. You know, we're back to being friends where nothing really hurts each other unless we're adamantly hurting each other. And like the little things, we do the little things for each other. We respect each other. We want to spend time together, and we prioritize fun again. Like, we had this idea of what we thought marriage was supposed to be, and we let it consume us. We thought that we had to have our shit together. We thought that we needed to be like, I don't know, like no fun anymore. Like, it was just like we had all these preconceptions of what marriage should be, and it just didn't work for us. And I think what we learned the most out of all of this is that other people's relationships are not our relationship, and our relationship isn't a community project. It's between him and I. So whatever works for us, oh, sorry, something scared me. Whatever works for us is what works for us. And it doesn't need to make sense to anybody else. And I think that's the most important. And like now we're better than ever. We're best friends, and we have so much fun together, and we're expecting another baby, and life is just like, it was a rough go to get here. And what we realize now is like, we choose each other. We choose to love each other every single day. I love him so much, and every day I make a choice to wake up and continue to love him. And so it's important to treat that person like they're special. They're the one person in your life that like you can give that love to, and you can fall into if you need. Like, they're the person that you can trust. And no, they don't have to be your everything. You should totally have your own things and your own hobbies and all of those things, but your partner is supposed to fulfill 20%, like 20% of the things that, you know, of your life, at least. And if they're not fulfilling those steps, then you need to say things. Like, we can't read each other's mind. We have no idea what the other expects from us, and expectations lead us to failure. So just being honest and open, and like, you know, now I'll be like, hey babe, I'm feeling like there's something, are we good? And he'll be like, oh yeah, we're good. Sorry, I've just been busy with work or whatever, you know? So yeah, ultimately it's about cherishing that person and respecting them for who they are, because you chose them. Don't try to change them. They're not going to change, and they're just going to upset you. And if you're feeling certain things, or you're feeling like you're lacking in a certain area, or, you know, that your needs aren't being met, then just be honest. And if you don't feel like you can be honest with them, then maybe that's not the best option for you, you know? Like, maybe they're not the right person, but ultimately, you should be able to tell your partner what you need from them without them getting offended. And if you do offend them or whatever, you both need to work on things. So either it's your delivery or the way that they take it or something. But yeah, that's the thing that we've learned the most, is that you just got to speak up in a respectful way, and you got to cherish the other person. Treat them like they're important to you, because they really are. And date your spouse. It's so redundant and everyone says it, but it's so, so important. And dating doesn't mean like, you know, going on those fancy dinners and all those things. And like, it means like, treat them like you would when you first started dating. So what I noticed when I was dating last year was that I was like this very understanding, compassionate, like genuine, like very interested in these people, even though like I really didn't care that much, but I showed like a lot of interest in their interests, and I wanted to get to know them. And I realized that like I didn't do that with my husband anymore. care to like get to know him as we grew up. I didn't care to like, it was just kind of like we took each other for granted, and we didn't really realize that like what the other person had to offer was also really interesting and really like awesome and so much fun. And you know, and like do the little things, like buy them their favorite chocolate bar, wear their favorite dress, like get dressed up for them once in a while. I don't know, just the little things that mean so much to them. It really doesn't need to be huge. Flirt with your spouse and just things like that, like dance in the kitchen, do little fun things that you would do if you were dating, plan dates, plan little getaways, all sorts of things. Like they should be the person that you want to spend this time with. And yeah, if I could just save anyone from a separation, because it does suck, the one thing that I would say is to like get to know your spouse again. Like buy those books that like are like 3,000 questions about me and ask them, and play games together and make each other a priority, and like spend that quality time together. Don't take them for granted, because eventually they're going to feel it and it sucks. So I hope this helps, and I just divulged everything to you guys without going into every detail, but stay latched, because it can only get better.